Thanks for joining us for our final adventure of 2021. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you can stay up to date when we upload new URBEX adventures. Today we visit what remains of a paper mill located in New York along the Black River. The mill was established in 1899. It's undergone various expansions as well as having numerous owners. Less than 100 yards away from the site is a town built on a man-made island. The owners of the mill took to building 52 homes, a hotel, and a general store. Seeing as the town was owned and operated by the mill, property was rented and maintained by the mill. If the residents had any issues with plumbing, electrical, or really anything having to do with the rental property, they wouldn't call a repairman. They would contact the mill itself. The town outside the mill eventually was home to nearly 3,000 people, most of which were the employees and families of the mill. Today there's less than 300 residents, and the EPA and the village consider the old mill an environmental hazard. The mill was closed in 2004, and demolition began in 2011. Asbestos removal containments still remain on the site as of 2021, yet appear to have been inactive since the lockdowns of 2020. The plant relies heavily on steam power. So prior to the mid to late 70s, boilers and associated steam and water pipes were covered with asbestos. Insulation, pipe coverings, cement, gaskets, even packing material contained asbestos here. Once the plant was closed and slated for demolition, efforts to remove asbestos began in order to preserve the valuable metals left behind. This clearly wasn't the case for the entire plant, however. An incredible amount of hazardous material was still left behind. Surprisingly, there's not a lot of graffiti. We did come across one area that was heavily graffitied, as you can see here. It's entirely possible there was much more graffiti, but much of the building's been demolished. Even the remaining office buildings, which are heavily damaged and vandalized, show very little signs of graffiti. The property is absolutely massive, so unfortunately we didn't get to explore all of it in this session. We aim to come back at some point to finish exploring what remains. In 2020, the site was eyed as a potential spot for solar power, so it's tough to say how much longer the plant will be there. The town considers it an eyesore, and the EPA considers it a hazardous waste zone. As of today, the property is silent. Judging by the areas that we did explore, demolition and asbestos abatement has ceased. Entering the property was far less challenging than we imagined. There is a fence up around the property, however, there are several holes that have been cut into the fence. We did have to be careful because there is a town just on the other side of the fence. At a few points during the exploration, we were only a few dozen feet away from people's driveways. Right next to the property is the town's fire department. We thought this might make the exploration a bit more challenging. We'd viewed satellite images of the property to figure out points of access. In the end, we ended up parking at the fire department. There was nobody there, and there was a hole right in the fence. Win-win. Up on the roof here was the beginning of the end of our adventure. I explore with my nephew, and for some reason when we were up here, he started throwing up. We tried to calm his stomach with Slim Jims and energy drinks, and it seemed to work for at least a little while. We pushed on to explore these garages and small offices. Here we find what's left of an administrative building, filled with records dating back nearly 40 years and antiquated technology, and even a deer carcass. Here we stumble upon an asbestos containment. It's tough to tell, but it appears that it hadn't been active for at least a year. While filming, I noticed down this dark hall, we could hear power, the humming of lights, and even equipment. My curiosity was piqued, and I had to try to find a way in. What could possibly still be running? So much of the plant had already been demolished, and yet there's still one section with power still. I psyched myself up for a mission to find out what was going on, until this happened. That's right, the sound of meat snacks and Red Bull being expelled from my nephew's body. We decided it was time to leave. At this point, we'd actually only been there for about 2 hours, barely scratching the surface of the buildings that are there. I decided it was best to explore what we could on the way out. Judging by the construction of the wall, this seemed to be one of the older parts of the building. It's really tough to explain the feelings that overcome you when exploring a space like this. A flood of emotion, curiosity, and even concern. The past meets the present right before your eyes. It almost speaks to you, asking you to follow it deeper, and sometimes telling you to go away. Everything in me was telling me to go deeper. But one of the basic rules of urban exploration is don't explore alone. I hadn't quite realized it yet, but my nephew wasn't in this building with me. I'd turned around and he was gone. You can see just at the end of this building a small red light. That appears to be where the power was coming from. I decided to put safety first and not explore any further. I feel that I made the right decision to not further explore. In a doorway just next to where I was standing, you can see here it is completely filled up with debris and rubble. Perhaps when we come back next year, we'll be able to explore much more. We hope that you've enjoyed this adventure, and we look forward to bringing you much more in the coming year. Be sure to like the video, subscribe, and comment below. Be sure to hit the bell notification so you can stay up to date when we upload new adventures. And as always, thank you for watching, and we hope to see you on the next adventure.